Hello, my name is Joe. Welcome to another edition of Joe's Technology. I've talked about refurbished computers and how you could save money on the channel, but I want to go ahead and demonstrate doing exactly that, because you might be thinking to yourself, if I buy a refurb computer, what would I potentially get? I'm kind of rolling the dice. I've never bought a used computer before. Well, the nice thing about refurbished computers is that generally the computers being sold to you are corporate machines. They're not the consumer models. They're designed to be tougher, they run for more hours. That's why I tend to favor corporate systems, and refurbishers do too, because, I mean, the consumer stuff goes out there, gets beat up in people's homes and trashed and ends up on Craigslist. Not a lot of resale value there. Corporate systems, on the other hand, get leased out by the thousands to various big companies, and then when their lease is up, it's time for them to be refurbished and put back out there. So, as a matter of fact, that's actually where I have my notebook computer. So if you're in a situation, tell me if this is you need a notebook. It doesn't need to be the most powerful notebook in the universe. It just needs to be able to browse the web, write documents, spreadsheets, databases, be able to, YouTube, Netflix, Hulu, just all your basic office stuff. You're looking for an office notebook and have a little bit of storage, something, anything other than hardcore gaming, because for that there's always going to be a big price tag attached. So I like to go looking, and I came across an HP EliteBook 8470p. Now I already have an 8440p, so why would this catch my attention? Well, let's see. Today the cheapest EliteBook 8470p is $150. However, as you can see here on the screen, when I bought mine about a week ago, the prices change all the time, by the way. You have to just keep checking them, and if you see one you like, pull the trigger right then and there, otherwise it could be gone. So I wanted to be able to link this one for you guys, but unfortunately it's already gone. This refurbisher sold all the ones that they had at this price, and so I snapped one up, as you can see, for around $130-ish, and then plus another $20 of shipping. And I spent my own money on it, and the reason I was interested in an 8470p, even though I had an 8440p already, is that, here, let's look at the specifications for this. So, this is basically the same as mine. It's got the i5 3320M, which is exactly what I ordered. And if you're not familiar with that, the i5s are kind of like the workhorse CPUs. They're not quite as powerful and crazy as the big i7s. The i5s are, your real heavy-duty workhorse CPUs. They're probably the ones that everybody loves, more than those i3s or the Pentiums. Everybody wants an i5. And this i5 is hyper-threaded. Because it's a laptop version, it only has 2 cores, but it is hyper-threaded, so there's a total of 4 threads. The only difference is that you'll notice here, this says it comes with a 500 gig hard drive, but as you saw on the image that I put up, mine only comes with a 320 gig hard drive. Oh well. So I have a little bit less space in the hard drive department, but I'm really not concerned about that, especially for the price. The memory that they sent me is about the same, it's 4 gigs of RAM. But here's what got my attention. There are a couple of things about this laptop that I thought was very interesting. These are corporate business machines. With refurbishers, generally you're not looking at consumer models, you're looking at corporate models. The difference is corporate models tend to be a little tougher. They're designed to run more hours concurrently. Businesses will leave their machines on for weeks, months, years, and they're designed to just take a beating day in, day out for data entry, and then, at the end of the lease agreement, they all go back in waves of thousands and thousands of machines and get refurbished and then resold. Whereas, consumer models go into people's homes, they get ripped up, chewed on by dogs and cats, and, people smoke around them, all kinds of stuff happens to them. Those machines end up on Craigslist. They're not worth a refurbisher's time to deal with consumer models. Plus, people like to modify the insides of their computers, and it makes it more of a headache. So that's why refurbishers tend to have these corporate machines. Well, here's what I really like about this one. Okay, here, as we mentioned, dual core, and it is hyper-threaded. Let's see, 64-bit computing, yes. QM77 Express, blah, blah, blah. There should be a thing that says hyper-threading, yes. Oh, it comes with a DVD RW, so that's nice. That shows the memory is supported, 4 gigs, but here's what caught my attention. Max supported size, 16 gigs. Now, memory is a little bit cheaper now than when this machine came out. So what I'm planning on doing is I'll get my machine, and if everything works okay, I will expand its memory to 16 gigs of RAM. So not only do I have an i5 that's hyper-threaded, but I'll be able to stick in the max amount of memory. I can do some work with this. I'll be able to do quite a bit with this, in fact. So I'm really looking forward to it. Now, there are only 2 memory slots, so that tells me if 16 gigs of RAM is the total, that means I'm going to have to buy 2 memory chips at 8 gigabytes apiece at this speed. So it'll have to be PC3 12800, and it'll be a 204-pin SODIMM. So that's how I tell what it is that I'm looking for. Let's see. Here it shows you what the maximum resolution is. Now, as you can see, this is not a full 1080p screen. This machine dates from 4 or 5 years ago, so that was considered good enough back then. So it's something to be aware of. When you're looking at a refurb, you want to look at what its actual capabilities are. Now, here's a nice bonus. My last refurbished laptop came with an NVIDIA card, but it wasn't one of your nice NVIDIA GT or GTX cards, which are, consumer models that are, good for gaming. It came with an NVIDIA Quadro because my machine was supposed to be a workstation replacement. As a result, I was never able to find NVIDIA drivers for Linux for that machine, and I intend to use my machine with Linux. Well, even though this comes with Windows 7, I'm going to blow that away. I plan to run Linux on my laptop anyways. So here's a nice little bonus. It comes with an AMD Radeon HD 7570M with 1 gigabyte of RAM on it. So it's not the, like I said, most powerful graphics card in the world, but this should be good enough for all kinds of video. So I won't have any problems if I want to watch Netflix or other stuff and watch it at the max resolution that the computer can support. It even has some nice speakers on it. All this stuff here looks really, really good. A 3rd generation i5. So this is an Ivy Bridge processor that's in here, if you're familiar with that. With Intel, they have the various different generations since they came out with the i5. So and each generation has its own name, so the 3rd generation's name is Ivy Bridge. These are still pretty good computers, especially, in this case it's in a notebook. I'm not planning on taking over the world with this thing. It just needs to compute. I won't have any problems using it. So I'm really looking forward to this. I mean, it does have, other built-in stuff. Let's see. Yeah, all your wireless goodies. And it can plug into regular internet. As you can see, there are many more specifications listed here on the CNET site than are listed here on Newegg. Because if we choose any one of these machines at random, they rely entirely on the vendor filling this information in. Doesn't this seem kind of anemic compared to the amount of information we have here? CNET is a very good source, so you can just kind of put in the model number into Google, and CNET will come up with it. So I just said, when I was searching for this, I said 8470p, and then I put the type of processor it was, because there are other ones. There's an i7 variant, and that way you don't get the wrong information and looking it up there. But see, this one's coming with Windows 10 Professional. Yeah, different refurbishers will include different software on them. Now, the one that I received, as you can see, it's going to show up here with Windows 7. In fact, let's take a look and see what actually showed up.
Okay, so this is my 8470p that showed up in the mail just yesterday. Now, remember, this is billed as a scratch and dent. What you think? I mean, that one's pretty nice. I mean, it looks in great shape. Now, I scoured it looking for damage, and I found this tiny little dent right here. And it looks like someone may have dropped, but not very hard, so there's a little chip. It looks like right here. It's kind of hard to see. Come on, camera focus. Camera's not in a good mood. do it. So that's about all the damage I seem to be able to find on this unit. One little quirk of it, though, is that you'll see there's one USB port here. Notice that it's black. And there are two USB ports over here. And these are also black. Originally, when I looked at it, I was like, oh, come on. You know, an HP EliteBook and it has no USB 3.0 ports. And I looked on the back, looking to see, it even has a VGA D-sub, so this is probably for connecting to projectors. A lot of corporations have like old projectors and they'll all have these available, so that way you can give your presentations and whatnot. Well, I looked it up and it turns out that it does have USB 3.0 ports, they're just not marked. So the USB on the left side is a 3.0 and the USB on the right side is 2.0. Now notice that there's only one of them, so I'm going to take a wild guess and say the intention here was that you plug in a mouse here, or a clicker, if you're doing a presentation and you want to have a remote ability, and that things like USB flash drives and other data storage was designed to go over here, and that's why we also have the eSATA connection over there on that side as well. Alright, so let's go ahead and fire it up. Now, this computer comes with Windows 7, but I'm not planning on using Windows 7. Yeah, see, it wants to, it's saying launch repair because I shut Windows 7 off. The moment I turned it on, I saw Windows 7. I was like, no, don't launch. Because what will happen is that, in my case, they've set it up for a brand new user, so it's going to say, enter your name, enter your other stuff, register, blah, blah, blah. I didn't want to tamper with anything like that. I just wanted to leave it alone. And the reason why is that with consumer machines, you would look on the bottom and you'd see like a little sticker, Windows, here's your product key, blah, blah, blah. Notice there's nothing down here. And the reason is that as a corporate machine, the way corporations typically do it is they will purchase what's called a Microsoft Enterprise Agreement. So they pay a fee, and this is an annual fee, unfortunately. So basically, they pay an annual lease, and then they're able to use Microsoft software products. So they'll put their enterprise operating system on these things. So when this goes to the refurbisher, step one is to wipe them. Whoosh, everything comes off, including Windows. So the refurbisher is like, well, darn it, now we're going to have to go and buy Windows. And so there's like a refurb version of Windows 7, which is probably what's on here. And so the refurbisher, gets a blank hard drive. They install Windows. They install all the drivers as part of their refurbishing process. But you notice they don't give me a license key. The only thing that showed up in the box, it's got styrofoam peanuts and some bubble wrap, is the computer itself and a power brick. This one back here. So that's all you get. So if I corrupt Windows and I need to reinstall, for example, that's all she wrote. I'm going to back up Windows. I'm going to make what's called a disk image, where I copy everything that's on that hard drive and save it off to a file. And that way I have the Windows license that came with this computer safe and secure. Now, I have no intention of using Windows on this machine, but just in case. So here, this is Linux. So here, we'll go ahead and, as you saw, I fired it up and it wanted to go into Windows right away. But the really nice thing is that Linux has no problems running on this machine. I tried it, so here, let's hit escape. With this particular computer, you have to hit escape, and then it gives you the option to, every computer is different. This is how you access the boot device options on this model notebook. So it says, well, I've got your hard drive. You can boot over your network. But in my case, I'm going to boot from USB. And so now here this is a live USB or live disk, depending on how you want to look at it. So I'm running an operating system called Solid K, which is a Debian-based Linux distribution. And Solid K has been growing on me. You'll find channel or videos about it on this channel dating back years, but only recently Solid K seems to have really grabbed me. And so I was planning on using it here on this notebook. And it's nice because I can run it off the USB stick. I don't have to install anything, and that way I can test the computer and make sure that everything is working the way it's supposed to. So let's see. Just about ready. Oh, notice that I'm doing all this on battery power. So I charged it up as soon as it got here, and I wanted to make sure that the battery was good. So far, no problems. In fact, I've been using it for quite a while. I don't know exactly how long, but the battery still seems nice and strong. So here, let's go ahead and take a look. And we'll go ahead to the K-Info Center and look up the information. So this gives us information about the machine that's running on. Here we go, focus, come on. So as you can see, Solid K is able to verify, yep, we have our i5 3360, and it's only a 2-core processor, but it has 4 threads, so it appears to be 4 to the computer, and we're able to see all 4 just as we expected. And you're expecting a 300 gig drive. It's showing 298 of usable space, so you lose a little space when you format these things, so that's fine. And yep, 4 gigs of RAM, just as expected. Although, after I get the operating system backed up, I'm going to back up Windows 7, then I'll install Linux, and I'll buy some new memory chips for this machine, and that means I'll rip out the memory that it has in it and toss that away, or, well, actually toss it in the box. And that way I can have this machine up to 16 gigs. So this is another success story for me. $130. It's exactly what they advertised. In fact, it showed up in better condition than I expected. Better condition than the last refurb notebook I bought. Although, that one just had a few dents also. It worked perfectly. Always read the feedback. If you want to go ahead and purchase one of these refurbished items, look at the feedback that people are writing about that individual refurbisher. Do they answer the phone? Do they provide good service? People will let you know if they don't. So be careful which one you buy from, because they're all different. There are good ones and there are bad ones out there, and your surest indicator is what other people seem to think about them in the marketplace. I checked that this one refurbisher had good feedback, and obviously they sent me a good unit, and I mean, this costs less than a Chromebook, and it's so much more powerful. I bought one Chromebook once for $250 when they first came out. I regret it. I ended up giving that away. It was just too limited. I mean, look at this thing. 320 gig drive, 4 gigs of RAM, i5 with hyper-threading, expandable 16 gigs of RAM, $130, well, plus the 20 for shipping. So much more powerful than anything a Chromebook could do. Even though this is an Ivy Bridge from 4 or 5 years ago, this will body slam any Chromebook on the market today, period. And I couldn't be happier. So, I wish you luck if you plan to go out and find a notebook of your very own, and like I said, you can get one without breaking the bank. Best of luck. See you next time here on Joe's Technology.